Hello.
Hey,
Hey.
hang tight. We're live.
Oh, okay.
All right, there we go. All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Therapy Ain't No Joke. Sean Garvey here, and yes, we are live. We're kind of behind schedule. It's been a day. It has been a long day. We usually go live at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 to 9 p.m., and sometimes 7 to 8 p.m. But it is 9:08 here on the East Coast, and I'm talking to my friend here who has been on this show before, Nikisha Bryan. We are so thankful to have her back on here on Therapy Ain't No Joke. And just to give the viewers and the listeners, once again, just to reintroduce yourself to the viewers out there, Nikisha Bryan, she is the host of her new podcast, Tiny Experiments Becoming in Real Time. And she also does incredible work in the community and also a mental health advocate. Thank you so much, Nicole Bryant. I'm sorry, you have Nicole Bryant. I'm calling you Nicole Bryant. You have it there in your
It's
lower header there.
Nicole. Either one. I usually go by Nicole at work because it's easier. People don't have to ask me how to spell it, how to pronounce it. So either one is
Oh,
fine. However you want to address me, I'll answer. Nikisha, Nicole, both of them together. We'll go.
oh. Okay. All right. Well, we know you as Nikisha, so we'll go with Nikisha. Thank you so much, Nikisha Bryan, for coming on Therapy Ain't No Joke. If you're new to the program, this is the show in which we talk about all things considered mental health in our community, and we're going to give you some important information towards the end of the broadcast. But again, just to remind people, for those who are just tuning in by way of the Mental Space Network, in which we have our new YouTube channel available for people that want to watch us live in real time, just like what we're doing right now, or want to watch the show on demand. We have the YouTube channel at the Mental Space Network. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe there. We need our viewership up, by the way. So please support. But if you're new to the program, we talk about all things considered mental health in our community. We come on Wednesday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. We missed a week because we had so much going on last week. But all of our on-demand shows are on that YouTube channel, and as well as on our other channel, which of course we call it Honey. If you're new to that as well, we got the QR code at the top of the screen there. And if you want to scan, and not if, but you got to scan, go ahead and scan the QR code so you can become a new member to our channel, which is free to download to your Roku TV. We have all the information at the bottom of the screen there in the ticker there. So make sure you support the movement and support the cause. We also have our donation box, Cash Out, $ Reach One Communications. So that way we can give you and continue to give you great quality programming, just like Therapy Ain't No Joke. All right. So without further ado, Nikisha Bryant, I'm ready to go ahead and dive right into tonight's topic. Oh, but I would be remiss, Nikisha, if we don't do our breathing exercises. I
Yeah.
promised our viewers last time that we were going to go back to doing that. You know, I'm going to need 3 breathing exercises, especially after the day I just had.
I don't,
So I'm going to turn the music down in the background here, and we're going to go ahead and begin our breathing exercises. And for anybody that's experiencing some type of anxiety or has had a very long day like myself, or you had one of those days, you had one of those bad days, and you just need to just breathe in and release and all that, I want you to do it with me. Okay, so let's go ahead and do it. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. One more time. Breathe in, breathe out. Ooh. All right. I feel a lot better,
it's,
Nikisha. How about you?
breathing always helps. Then it's like the easiest thing you can do. It's hardest to do when you're frustrated. Breathe.
Yeah. Because a lot has been happening, of course, and it hasn't even been a year yet. It hasn't even really been 2026. It's just been
Yeah.
January.
Yeah. It's just January. We got a long year to go.
11 more months.
We got a lot of more months and a lot of more surprises, I'm sure. I am.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, which takes us to our topic for tonight. As promised, we are doing a part two on the art of microaggression. We talked about this in our first part of the series. This is a three-part series. Part two, we're going to dive into what is the most pressing story that a lot of people have been talking about, and it is still talking about. 2 weeks ago, me and Nikisha, who I have the pleasure of having on right now. Most of our conversations centered around a lot of the back and forth that's been going on between two content creators. One is Corey Holcomb, the other one is Anton Daniels, and just how their interaction between each other is also a reflection of what people are doing in the space of media and even outside of media when there's no type of conflict resolution involved. But the pressing story, of course, that everybody is still talking about is the situation with ICE. Yeah, that's the most present story. Of course, two people have been shot down, killed
Really,
by.
it's really three. They don't tell you about the guy that got killed out here on New Year's Eve.
Oh yeah, do you want to take the opportunity, Nikisha, to break down that part?
Well, if you don't know, I believe his name is Kevin Porter. He was shot in North LA County by an off-duty ICE officer. I don't know if you know, but you in the South, when the New Year hits, we shoot our guns in the South. You know, a lot of people do that. He was just doing that. He was shooting his gun in the air New Year's, and the guy was getting off work and literally just shot him from across the parking lot. They just got the officer's name. I don't have it, but they just got his name maybe a week and a half ago. They had a vigil in Carson. Family had a vigil, and they're still fighting for justice. But he wasn't even working. He was off duty and shot him. And he was technically the first one. So that's the Renee was the second, and then guy was number three. It's just nobody said anything about the one from New Year's Eve because he was shooting the AR-15. Because it
Yeah,
was done. So that's why a lot of people leave it out. But either way, it's still a murder by ICE because he wasn't shooting at anybody. It was several people in the neighborhood shooting guns. It's just he was the only black one. Where he is in North LA is a very white area. So it's white and Armenian and Hispanic. So whenever you're black and you're over there, you're already a target. Every time I go over to the area where he lives, I always get pulled over. I always get asked, "What are you doing over here? Are you driving Uber? Are you doing this?" No, I'm here for work because I do insurance. And it's a very passive aggressive, it's macro aggressive, really, with how they are. It's very
beyond micro, macro, right?
yeah, yeah.
Macro, yeah,
His name still deserves to be said. Like I said, I understand him shooting an AR-15, but I'm from the South. You know, you can have those in the South. California has really, really strict gun laws, so I'm not sure if he had the license for it. But either way, shooting in the air shouldn't get you murdered. Like he literally got shot, didn't even know he was being looked at, or like he didn't even know anything was about to happen. He was shooting in the air saying Happy New Year, bringing in 2026, and his daughter, his mom, and his sister had to run outside and see him murdered.
wow.
It's an unfortunate situation.
Go back just a few moments, just a few minutes of what you said. The guy that shot the bullet during New Year's Eve, going into New Year's Day, he was African American.
No, no, no. He was Hispanic.
He was Hispanic. Okay, okay.
Hispanic ICE officer who was off duty.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. So it's it's just very unfortunate because everybody keeps still leaving him out. Um, like I said, his name deserves to be said too because that's still um unnecessary, and it's not like he was, he was a citizen, so it's not even like you can say you're doing your job as an ICE officer and that's not his jurisdiction. So like when they encounter crimes, they're allowed to like take people, but they're not supposed to actively engage. But if Trump wasn't our president, somebody would have said something, but it's just been like silent over here. The family is still fighting to get some sort of justice.
Yeah, and I want to just respond to that. And again, we're going to get into the therapy side. I don't want this show to be a show where we're implementing the politics involved in this whole situation, this whole matter. But something you said just now about the man who got gunned down by ICE agents, and him being Hispanic. It's interesting that what you just said, it didn't give enough coverage to that guy, but the last two that were recently gunned down by ICE agents, they happen to be of Caucasian.
Yep.
So it seems like they're getting. It seems like these last two incidents by ICE agents getting more coverage
Yeah.
than the first person that you mentioned because of race. That's what it sounds like to me. But again, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to play the political game in tonight's conversation and stuff. But I'm just only hearing what I'm hearing through you, Nikisha. That it sounds like that's an interesting situation.
It is. I think that happens a lot here. So I've noticed that there'll be like really large scale things happening in certain black areas here, and it's never on the news. We are not covered unless it is a car chase, a bank robbery, like when people are killed unjustly or just it hardly ever gets covered, and it's not like we really have a large newspaper because I think they closed the LA Times, so it's like there's not a lot of coverage. California, for it to be such an open state, has, I'm going to say, I've encountered more race related issues here than I ever did in Georgia. Ever.
Wow.
Even when I was in Athens. Like, because, in Georgia, we know where to go, where not to go 9 times out of 10. We're not going to have to interact. Here, everybody fake like they're liberal, like they like everybody when in truth and in not, that's not. It is a very state, black and South. It's been very, I've been here 5 years. So it is, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I heard you a little bit. You going in and out for a second there, so I'm just letting you know you was going in and out there. But I heard most of, and our viewers have as well heard most of what you said. So that's a very, very incredible thing right there. Tonight, again, for those who are just tuning in, the art of microaggression, or even at times macroaggression, just like Nikisha mentioned, part two. Yeah, ICE. Before we break down ICE. I would also be remiss if Nikisha, don't break down the definition behind microaggression. I didn't do it in our last episode, but I want to make sure that I make it in a point to break down the definition of what microaggression is, because this is something that is very instrumental in the realm of mental health. And so, microaggression means it's a statement, action, or incident regarded as an instance of indirect, subtle, or unintentional discrimination against members of a marginalized group, such as a racial or ethnic minority. And this is something, of course, that has been around for a very long time. This is not something new. This is something that's been around for a long, long time, and is a taboo conversation in our community and in other communities as well. And so to tie it in with ICE, which ICE is nothing new either. ICE has been around for a long time. We are seeing it in front of our very own eyes, because nowadays everybody has camera phones. Everybody got cameras, and we're seeing incidents in real time, in which a lot of it is very graphic as well. But ICE, for those that don't know, because we just hear the acronym of the letters ICE, ICE, which is known as the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And it's a federal law enforcement agency which happens to be under the United States Department of Homeland Security. And its mission is to conduct criminal investigations as well as enforce immigration laws, preserve national security, and protect public safety. And this was all created as part of the Homeland Security Act of 2002, following the attacks that took place here in our states, and of course in New York during the September 11 attacks. And it absorbed the prior functions of the Immigration and Naturalization Service and the United States Customs Service. So this agency, if you will, has been around since the early 2000s, 2002, going into 2003. So ICE is nothing new. ICE has been around for a long time. Some people has this misconception that ICE was started under the Trump administration. No, ICE has been around since the early 2000s. And so, again, with the new technology that we have in our hands, in our faces, we see what ICE really do. And this is not a movie. I mean, we used to looking at them in movies as actors and in films, but we seeing what they do in real time in reality on our phones and what have you. And speaking of the third guy that you just mentioned, the third person who, of course, a few days ago got gunned down and taken down by ICE agents. His name is Alex Preddy, if I believe I'm saying his last name correctly. A Caucasian guy. He had a camera phone in his hand. It's video footage of him holding a camera phone while ICE agents were doing what they were doing at that time. And moments later, he ended up becoming a victim of the situation that ICE agents were in, and now it's causing more of an uproar, not just only in the news arena, but also in the celebrity world. Now there are celebrities that are talking about doing some things to really abolish the tactics, either the tactics of what ICE is doing, or just to get rid of ICE completely.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of uproar, a huge national outcry, and so I want to get your take, of course, on how you think, Nikisha Bryan, how you think this makes an impact to one's mental health. We advocate every day about mental health and going into therapy and everything of that nature, but not only seeing those videos, but what people on the outside, in the civilians that are seeing these images of ICE agents and them going to do what a lot of people think is unconstitutional, because now they're talking about ICE agents can go into people's homes without warrants, with no
Well,
warning, and things of that nature. So it's very interesting that we advocate and we talk about mental health, but what are your thoughts on this situation if we're seeing all these things happening on Trump's watch, and it just seems like it defeats the purpose of advocating mental health? Let's say you.
no, I think that it makes more of the case to advocate for mental health. I think the Trump administration is doing that on purpose because they want it, still fearing people. When people are afraid, they typically make not great. Um, and it's easier to sway people to go one way or the other. So I think it just makes it a larger case for people to they take mental health, take breaks from the news, breaks from your feed, get outside, try to color inside or but try to do something that like takes you out of the stress of everything. Honestly, if you pay attention to the news and with prices going up with everything and just normal family life and pressure, it can be a lot on a person. So I think this is what ICE is doing to take care of their mental health even more and just try to make sure that you're in a good space because we're only a month in and we're not even a full month in and we see the things that have happened. So we have to understand we're definitely gonna get your mental thing is probably the one to make through this, next half year, 11 months still we still have quite a long time. So I think living
I'm sorry, not to interrupt, Nikisha. Thank you so much, by the way. Can you, if you don't mind, because we still hearing you going in and out there, so it may be some type of connection issue or what have you. If you don't mind, maybe you can jump off and then come back on and see if we could dissolve the issue there. Because you're
oh,
saying a lot of great things. You just want to make sure that we hear you word from word, word by word.
yeah, give me one.
Okay, okay. We'll bring back Nikisha Bryant. Yep. Okay, there we go. We'll bring Nikisha back on in just a few moments there, right here on Therapy Ain't No Joke. And again, for all of our new viewers out there that are watching Therapy Ain't No Joke, this is the show in which we talk about all things considered mental health in our community. And you can also weigh in on the conversation. You can join in on the conversation by just adding your comments in the comment section below. We're going live on Instagram at Sean Garvey ATL. You can see it there at the bottom of your screen there. You can follow me there and watch me live on Instagram. And feel free to leave a comment in the comment section, as well as on Facebook at Sean Garvey. And also, we're airing live on the Mental Space Network on our YouTube channel, the Mental Space Network. So far, we only have a few subscribers. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you can, please go to our YouTube channel, the Mental Space Network, and help get our viewership up, so we can get some more traffic in. Okay, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Mental Space Network. Tonight, we're talking about the Art of Microaggression Part 2, which is a part of our three-part series as we dive into some of the events that's been taking place in the news and also in pop culture, that deals with people dealing with a form of microaggression, and what does that look like, and how it ties in with mental health, and again, with ICE, a very huge topic, a very hot topic that's been going around the wire, the circuit lately, especially in the deaths of two people that lost their lives by ICE agents. Such a horrific situation. And looking at it as a mental health advocate, I'm always thinking about the families. I'm thinking about the families of the victims and of the ICE agents, and what they're going through, the families of these parties. And so, when people are filming these images that's happening in real time, um, they can stick with you for a long period of time, because these are very traumatic incidents, traumatic moments where you don't want to see anybody get shot and killed, whether it's an ICE agent, whether it's a non-ICE agent, or a civilian. Uh, that's something that nobody, man, woman, or child, should not see on camera, because it's very traumatic, and it can stick with you, and have a long term effect to your mental state. And now these people that are either friends or family of the deceased, they're going to have to need a lot of therapy, a whole lot of therapy, just to kind of get through what they experienced, and even the loved ones that they lost. We got Nikisha back on. Let's bring her back on. Nikisha, let's check and see if we got you going here.
It should be better. I think my other device, because it was going, was giving us issues.
Okay, welcome to technology.
I was like, you started saying that as soon as it went to 20%, because I'm like, I hope we make it through with this 20%, but I think that was what it is. I think it levels down or something when it gets to lower.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Well, as long as we got you back on, that's all that matters. We really appreciate it. I want you to continue on with your commentary, if you want to. I hate for you to start over, but if you just kind of want to remind or rewind back to what you just said a few moments ago, and give you some time to really express your thoughts on what was asked earlier.
I was just saying that I think it is more important, and imperative during the next 3 years and 11 months that we all take care of our mental health as much as possible. I think the next 3 or 4 years are going to be very stressful for us as a nation, really as a world, because it's a lot of stuff happening everywhere. But as far as what's going to affect those in our community, take care of your mental health, take your space, take your time. Um, Walk, meditate, do yoga, watch as little news as possible, and try to get off social media when you can, to take breaks so you're not just inundated with the bad stuff that's happening all day. So, yeah, I just think it's everybody just needs to make sure they take care of themselves as much as possible, and just understand that, even when things are looking bleak, there's always a reason to have a little bit of sunshine and try to make the best of whatever moments you're going through, because wallowing in it is only really makes it worse. So just take care of yourselves as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if you just need a break away from watching the news,
Mhm.
that's also helpful as well too. It's a lot more news coming out than ever before, and uh, just like many Americans, I get my news not all the time from the news itself, but from social media. And that's very interesting as well too, because I was one of those kids that grew up without the internet and before the internet became what it is now, and we would go to our local news for information as our reliable source to get information, to get what we need to be aware of what's happening in our community, across the nation, and international. But nowadays, it's like me and so many others, and maybe even you, Nikisha, we get our news now from social media. And along with the news, we also get opinions, we get perspectives, we get views. And some, if not a lot, is not pretty, and I get it. Everybody has their opinions, everybody get their views. You have people that are in support of
Mhm.
what I doing
And there are
and
a lot.
what. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say there are a lot of people, surprisingly, that are okay with them. Even black people are very much okay. I was just at dinner with a friend on Saturday who I knew was a Republican, but tried to justify the murder of Alex Pretty. And I was like, oh my God, I got so mad. Like they had to change the car. I was so angry because I'm like, that you can justify maybe whatever. I still don't think you justify the first two, but you can't justify the murder of Alex. There is no justification. I don't care if he had a gun on it. We have Second Amendment rights. And the fact that like I had to take care of my mental health after that. I had to like decompress when we left the house because they had me so pissed off that you have to not allow people's opinion because people are ignorant. I feel like on purpose, even if they don't fully agree. Some people just like being anti and they just want to be on the negative end of whatever it is. So you just have to make sure when you're dealing with people who have opinions that are opposite. And I'm not going to say they're wrong, but in this case with Alex Pretty, it's wrong if you say that's justified. That is just, in my opinion, wrong. But you have to learn how to hear them state all those opinions and still, like, I'm still working on it, still being able to stay calm. I didn't snap at them, but I was visual. Like, I'm not good. When I get upset, my face is very clearly pissed off. So, even though I wasn't yelling on the inside, I was screaming, and we had to leave very shortly because I was yeah, it was an interesting situation. So you definitely have to make sure that you hold yourself and know when you're in a situation that is affecting your mental health. And talking to people that are pro murder can do that when they are pro like murder, like Alex Pretty was murdered. Like that's crazy.
Hmm. I had a conversation with one of my mentors earlier, and I said to him, because I sometimes look at things from an objective lens. I think it's important to have three eyes than just only two eyes. And I said to him that it could be a lot of these people that have joined ICE may have had some law enforcement experience, and a lot of them do have law enforcement experience, whether they were once upon a time just cops or police officers or people that work behind a desk at a precinct or what have you. But then I also was like, well, maybe these folks cannot get jobs.
You
Maybe they cannot get jobs. You look at the economic climate that we in. A lot of people are getting laid off or have gotten laid off. It was reported that Amazon laid off, what, at least if my number serves me correctly, 30,000
yeah,
people, and people are out here looking for work. And so if something or if an opportunity presents itself to someone, say, hey, you want to join ICE? We take care of your rent, we take care of your bills, you get free education, the works and everything. Like, what do you do? Well, I mean, what do you do? If you're in a bind, and knowing what ICE is about and what they're doing, I mean, what do you do? Of course you gotta think about your health first,
yeah.
physical, and as well as your mental health. Um, so I mean, like let's say you like, why do you think ICE or the people that are joining ICE, do you think it's their way of, you know, enforcing their authority to people that they come in contact with, no matter what they look like, no matter who they look like? You think it's them enforcing their authority on them, or do you think it's just a means to an end to them if their back is up against the wall, and this is an opportunity, for them to make sure that their families and their communities are taken care of?
I'm gonna say I'm gonna give a C option. I think it's a little bit of B. I think some people do need the finances. That signing bonus, the $10,000 a year for 5 years, because it said 50,000, but what was in the small print was that it's 10,000 a year, and you can't leave early or you have to pay it back. So a lot of them didn't know that before signing and probably signed paperwork before knowing. So a lot of them are angry. A lot of them do need the money. That's why you see so many Black and Hispanic people working for ICE, and it's not just Proud Boy, white men working for them. The other option that I've seen is there are a lot of Hispanic that are second generation born here, and it's so weird in LA to deal with Hispanic people who don't like Hispanic people that are illegal. Like, and I'll ask them, did your parents come here legally? They're like, no, technically not. They came here during a time when it was allowed. So, like, it makes them feel like they're better. So, there is a really big population of Hispanic people that don't want to be considered one of them. Like, they just want to be American. They don't want to be Mexican American, Hispanic, none of that. They don't want to be Latinx, nothing. They just want to, I'm American. So I think it's the finances, and I think some people it's a little bit of self hate. I think with the Black people that are signing up, some of it could be because, like I said, economically, when a lot of immigrants came here, a lot of the more lower level jobs that we were taking were are gone, and that affected certain people in certain places. So I think it's so many reasons people are joining that there's not just like one major reason. I think they all have their reason. I think when we look at the uneducated white men, we know why they hired them. They're uneducated, they're white, and they're willing to do whatever. Those are the ones that went up to Minnesota and are acting a fool. You have another sect that are regular law enforcement. They're trying to join because they're like, I want to join because I don't want ICE to just be all horrible people. So I can at least know I can go and do the job and be a good person. But it's like you're under an administration that's telling you you can do anything to people pretty much. And when you're out in the field and angry or somebody spits at you or throws, you know what I'm saying, throws something at you when you're just trying to do your job, that can make you be a little bit more aggressive towards the people that you're dealing with. So I would say, I don't think it's one thing because I don't know if I told you, but we had raids near me. Like four of my neighbors got picked up.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and I think when you talk to the ICE officers, some of them are polite and nice, and some of them are assholes. Some of them are my Hispanic homegirl. She's Mexican American. She doesn't like to say Mexican American, but she's Mexican American, and her Puerto Rican American boyfriend. They got they were at a car wash and ICE did a raid at the car wash. They didn't run because they're citizens, so they showed them their IDs or whatever. But they were talking to him and they were like, "I had such a good experience with ICE." That's how our conversation came up where I got upset because he was like, "I dealt with ICE and it was fine." And she's Mexican. She looks Mexican. They wouldn't even know, and they didn't take her, and they weren't rude. And I'm like, "You live in Palos Verdes. You don't live in East LA. You don't live downtown LA. They handle you different because of the tax bracket that you're in, the area that you're in. They're not going to come and do certain stuff to you guys because of where you live." And I think that's why I said it's such an array of like experiences people are having with ICE that we can't say there's one type of officer. I know the person that's running them, Kristen Noam or whatever her name is. I know she's the devil, but other than that, there's nothing we can say about like the individual officers because I think they all have their own motivations as to why they're doing it. It's when it's over and they all start going to grand juries, it's going to be very interesting to hear the stories um, of the things that went on while this stuff was happening. He's making documentaries left and right with all the stuff they're doing. This is just going to be, I don't even know. It's crazy.
Well, that's interesting that you said that it depends on the zip code that one is living in. So what you're saying, and this doesn't get talked a lot in mainstream media, is that if you are in a certain, like you just said, in a certain type of tax bracket, and ICE comes and encounters you and talks to you, not necessarily confront you in a volatile way, but just kind of like have a conversation with you and everything. That type of tactic is different compared to a
Well,
person or to a group of people in an underserved location or in an underprivileged area of the country. So I find that to be very fascinating.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it's. I don't know. Being in California, it's been crazy because it was calm here for a while, and then they started the raids back up. It's been so different. The movement of my neighbors. Some of them don't work every day. They work at certain times. They don't leave as early. They get picked up by people. That have their papers. So if they get pulled over, you know what I'm saying. Hopefully they don't get bothered. But I like see the stuff in real time, so it's really eerie seeing people there all the time and then they're disappeared. The guys that are usually on the corner waiting for work, not there because they're scared to wait on the corner, scared to go to Home Depot. Um, it's yeah, it is very interesting. It's affecting, like, there's more food going bad in the grocery store. I noticed they're always putting produce on sale. People aren't. I can tell people aren't coming in and buying as much. In the groups that I'm in, on like the neighborhood app, some of my neighbors go to the store for the other neighbors, or they drop their kids off for them, so that they don't have to go out. So it's just the stuff that's happening in Minnesota has put fear in people. So like they don't want to leave the house, and that's just the ones that aren't citizens. The people that are American, I feel like as an American, like I got asked if I was a citizen today while out
Wow.
because
Okay.
I showed my passport ID and I got asked if I was a citizen. I was so I was so when I tell you I had a day. That's why when you messaged me, it was like we're gonna go later. I was like good because I need to relax. These people have been
Mm.
a day.
Wow.
I've never been asked in my life, am I a citizen of the United States in the United States? Never.
Wow.
Now in
Wow.
other places, yes, the United States in a government building, they asked me, "Are you a citizen?" I said, "I am." And you're looking at this is the United States passport, so I would have to be a citizen to have a U.S. passport. They don't get. I had to educate the woman on my passport anyway, but the fact that she asked me plain faced, just I was mind blown today. It was just like, and she was black.
Wow.
So the day I
That's
had,
unbelievable.
like, girl, like it took everything. Like when I tell you, I said it's taking everything. This is why I stay away from people. I try not to go and see people because people are just today was a lot on my spirit because I'm like, if I'm having to deal with this, what are other people having to deal with that look like it was wild? I just have never been asked if I was a citizen. It was the wildest experience. I just, yeah, very interesting. I'll say that.
Let
Interesting.
me, man, let me make sure my therapist is on speed dial. Let me tell
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
Jeez.
Your passport or your passport card on you because apparently we may be asked at this point. It's so crazy. It's, yeah.
It's not even enough. It's not enough. Like even if you gotta show them your birth certificate or your social security card, it's like it's very, very unbelievable
It
to
was,
me that
yeah,
we are getting to that extent.
it is. Yeah. I was shocked. When I tell you I was like, I'm sorry. What state were you born in? I was like, ma'am, it's on my like. Have you seen the passport before? I was like, if you look at it, all my information is on there. Why don't you just check it out since you're
Yeah.
then you're unknown as to where like it was. Yeah, I don't know. I was very pissed. I don't know even if she thought I was Haitian. I don't have no accent where I like I even if I did, I'm offended. I'm still offended. She pissed me off. I ain't gonna lie. She pissed me off because
Mhm.
that was just unnecessary. And then for it to be coming from another black woman was just a very wild experience. Yeah, I've never been asked that. Never been asked that ever.
How do you find that? Like from a mental health perspective, for you know, how did you find that? Did you felt like at that moment or at that time you felt triggered, you know, traumatized, or you had some sort of anxiety and stuff? What were you actually feeling at the time being asked that?
I want to say I was triggered more than anything. I mean, I know I'm a citizen and I know my rights, so I know how people. Because she may get a report. I don't know. I'm still checking to see if she's allowed to even ask me that. I have to find out. But very much triggered. Like I said, I had to go to the park after I went and walked my dog after at the park because I had to go get some sun and relax. Because I said she pissed me off. She really like, and it's like not even a part of her job. She asked that because it was nothing that she needed to ask that was even relevant for her to ask, like at all. I was there doing some stuff for a business grant. It had nothing to do, like it was just very much offensive. So definitely triggered, and just let me know that if I'm having to deal with that, I know other people are. So that's why I know that people have to take care of their mental health, because I know I've been in therapy, so I know when I'm being triggered, so I know to calm myself or remove myself from the situation. But
Right.
everybody does that, and everybody doesn't know that, you know, some people may have gone off on her. And if I was old me when I first moved here pre-therapy, she would have got cursed out. But as
Mm.
I've been in therapy and I'm a much better person now, I said, you know what? Do you need anything else? And she was like, and turned around and left. I ain't even say bye. She pissed me off so bad. I said, you what? What? I said, that's just, it's not okay. That's not okay. It's just, yeah. So I just left and took care of my mental health like I should have. But just, I know that I'm triggered a lot here sometimes because I'm the type of person where I don't like seeing other people. I'm like an empath, so I don't like seeing other people not treated correctly. I do
Mm-hmm.
like when I see people being taken advantage of. It bothers me just seeing people be taken advantage of. So like I know that there may be people going in there to try to get help with stuff, and if she's asking them stuff like that, that could scare them. Like, is she not going to do my business application because she think I'm not a citizen, or you know what I'm saying? You don't know these are people that have your information for whatever you're trying to do, and they're low key coming off. Is it xenophobic? Yeah, it's xenophobic, not racist, but xenophobic, and it's just like I don't know. I'm still decompressing from the situation. I haven't had a chance to journal yet because it's still early. I usually write before I go to bed, but definitely triggering, and definitely I know that I need to, one, keep my passport thing on me, my passport ID on me, and two, I just need to make sure I'm able to deal with this because it doesn't look like this stuff is gonna go away anytime soon. So this is
Mm.
normal. Y'all need to be careful because they are in Atlanta. I guess they were posting that they got there last night on the west side somewhere. So y'all have to be careful because they're be there too. So
Yeah, that's a pretty good segue right there, Nikisha, because we've been getting reports about ICE and ICE agents coming to Atlanta if they are not here yet, or at least in the outskirts of Atlanta. And you know what's so funny? A few days ago, I was coming from somewhere, and I was at the train station, and I saw three men in police uniform. They were the same uniforms that ICE agents wear when they're out in the streets. And my first immediate reaction was that, oh my God, oh my goodness, ICE agents are already here and they at the train station. But they weren't ICE agents, they were officers on behalf of that train station agency.
oh, okay.
And yeah, and anybody can see that, and the first thing they're going to think of is ICE and what we have seen them done in the past few months
Mm.
on camera, especially with the three unfortunate lives that have been taken from by ICE agents and stuff. So it can be, like you said, it can be triggering, especially if you see a person in law enforcement uniform, whether he or she is an ICE agent, or they may not even be ICE agents. They could be another officer of a different agency, but just happen to be in the same type of militant uniform, because these are military uniforms
Yeah, that's
that
it.
these agents are wearing and stuff. So, of course, you know, they are trained to do what they are trained to do, and it can result in a unfortunate situation that nobody doesn't ever want to see, especially on camera, and nobody doesn't ever want.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can definitely understand where you're coming from. From those who are just tuning into Therapy Ain't No Joke, I'm talking to the guest, or actually the host rather, of Tiny Experiments Becoming in Real Time, Miss Nikisha Bryant, who has joined me here in the conversation. She was on a previous episode of Therapy Ain't No Joke a couple of weeks ago. I decided to, by popular demand, of course, invite her back onto the show to talk about the art of microaggression part two as we continue on our three-part series on microaggression and how it makes an impact to one's mental health as well as to the community and outside of the community. And, everything we touch on is pop culture news related. And in the news, of course, the hot button topic is ICE and the tactics that they are using upon people, not just in the Latino community, in the Hispanic community, or in the Mexican community, but just also on everyday people, whether they are protesters, whether they are non-protesters, they just ongoing seekers, just looking, taking their cameras out and recording what they're seeing in real time. And unfortunately, someone ends up dead by the hands of ICE agents. And I broke it down to our viewers just a few moments ago, a little bit earlier in the program, Nikisha, of what ICE is. And ICE has been around since 2002, 2003, the early 2000s, especially since the 9/11 attacks. And ICE stands for Immigration and Custom Enforcement, which is, of course, a part of law enforcement, federal law enforcement agency under the United States Department of Homeland Security. And, police in this country, law enforcement, has always been getting a bad rap for things that they have done historically, especially towards people of African Americans descent culture. And so that right there is also a mental health issue, a mental health problem in the world, in our community, because what we've seen ICE agents have done to the last three people over the past few months is the same thing that we have saw historically in our community. And some people are saying things like, "Oh, well, they're getting a taste of our own medicine," if you will. And so, again, nobody should not have to get killed under the hands of law enforcement, unless it is justifiable. I remember a time when I was a security guard, and I was in situations where I could have been at risk for my own health. Because when you're a security guard, just like a police officer, your main duty, your main job as a law enforcement agent is to de-escalate the situation, to try to calm the person down, to make sure that the person obey your commands and do what you tell them to do and everything, so everything can move in a very peaceful manner, and if you will, whatever. And you have to comply, and you have to do this and that and stuff like that. And so it's hard for me as a former security guard to look at images of, I don't want to say my fellow comrades or my fellow colleagues, but people that are in that uniform that are put to serve and protect. They say, to serve and protect, but at the same time, somebody's mother, somebody's father, somebody's wife, somebody's husband, somebody's brother, somebody's sister is not going to make it home tonight.
Yeah.
And that causes a lot of trauma, not just only for the victims, but for that law enforcement agent as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately. So, how do you see it, especially as a mental health advocate? How do you see it from both ends, from the victim family as well as from the state agent side? Like, how do you see it from both ends?
I think it's hard for both. I have family and friends that are police. And we get into it because I'm like, I don't like this, I don't like that, but they have a different view of the job, and because in their mind it's protect and serve, the way that they approach things, obviously, and the way they think about it is going to be different. Um, I think being in law enforcement right now is probably really hard on their mental health because you have to kind of be aligned with people that you don't want to be aligned with, and you can't outwardly really give your opinion, especially at work. I have a female friend that's a police officer that is a high ranking sergeant, but she's the only black person and the only black woman that's in the upper echelon. And she gets harassed so much from just her own brethren. So like she's dealing with it from inside. She still has to represent the uniform when she goes out, and then she sees stuff like what ICE is doing. And their badge, like you said, their uniform says police on the back, just like their regular police. So I think it's hard for them because it's like an impossible job. I don't think there's a way to do that job and just be 100% um, like. I'm not gonna say you can't be a good person, but it's a difficult job to do and keep your composure and keep who you are integrity wise. Um, so I see their point, but I think on the other hand, all we see as like citizens is as Americans is our rights being violated. So we take it differently. Like with Alex Preddy, they were trying to justify it because of the gun on his side when he had his hands on a phone, when he was protecting a woman from getting pepper sprayed in the face. He had there was just no reason to shoot him, to beat him up and then shoot him 10 times. There was no reason for 5 or 6 officers to be jumping him. So I think that it's hard on both sides. That's why I said I think everybody has to take care of their mental health, because I think we're in an impossible position that we have an administration that, like I said, is telling people that this is okay. And people like to go with the law, like the law is the word of God, or is, you know what I'm saying, like the final say of things, when we know the law is wrong sometimes. The law made slavery legal at one point. The law had a lot of stuff that we said we couldn't do that we can do now. So I think everybody just has to take care of their mental health, but I think it's hard on everybody all around because we can't really separate ourselves from the police. They are a part of our life. ICE and immigration has been a part of our life since we were in college. So it's like all this stuff happened when we were early in college or leaving high school. So it's just like we're accustomed to it. It just hasn't been like it is now. That's why I said this is all about the Trump administration. It's not that ICE is inherently bad. It's not that deporting people is bad, because even if you go look back at Obama, he deported more people than Trump did, but you ain't hear about it. You didn't see it because people weren't being murdered. They weren't separating families. They were deporting people, but they were deporting them and letting them know this when you have to go. Some people may have come back, but he deported more people than Trump did easy. Obama deported way more people than Trump. He's trying to get to Obama numbers. He's really in competition with Obama. I don't know if people noticed, but Obama was able to do a lot of stuff that Trump would like to do, but on a quieter scale, so that it wasn't such an uproar about it.
Right. And also, let me make this clear for even people that may feel the opposite of what Nikisha is saying. We welcome here at Therapy Ain't No Joke any and all parties
Yes,
that want to be expressive and share their thoughts, and even come to a solution, so that way our mental health can stay intact during these questionable times that we are in right now, especially with ICE. So we want to make sure that we welcome different parties, no matter if you are a Republican, no matter if you are a Democrat, or if you are independent. We welcome all parties to the table, as long as we get to some solutions and come to a common ground. So that way, this type of thing won't be ongoing and turns into something way more worse than what we expect. So I just want to make sure I point that out to our viewers.
yes, yes, definitely. Definitely need to get a Republican on here. That'll be good.
Oh, and I know plenty of them. I know a few of them. Absolutely. So let's go to the latest news coming from the New York Times here. And according to the New York Times, we're getting some updates here. Judge says ICE violated nearly 100 count or 100 court orders. The judge condemned the agency for disobeying the directives in just a month in Minnesota. And excuse me, Senate Democrats want agents to unmask and change their tactics if they are to vote to avert a government shutdown this weekend.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
wow. So
yeah.
this is also pressing news, by the way.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, wow. We definitely going to need some therapists
Yeah.
to come.
Gotta stay calm because every day it's gonna be something else. You just gotta
Yeah.
stay. Try to relax. Go outside while you watch the news. At least get some sun so you can try to circumvent the stress that you're soaking in on the phone. Because
Yeah.
there, yeah,
Yeah. What would you, because in law enforcement you do have therapists. Speaking of therapists, you do have therapists, you do have coaches, you do have counselors that speak to these officers because they are officers of the law at the end of the day. Like if you were to be a therapist or even a licensed therapist, what would those conversations look like and sound like when you having to sit face to face with an ICE agent or an officer of the law? What would you tell them, or what insight or advice would you give to them?
it depends. Would it be from a like trying to figure out why they're doing stuff, or like in a trying to repair? What are they coming into therapy for? I think it would matter.
Absolutely, I think they're coming in for all of the above. Because the thing about it is that when we go into therapy, when we are sitting across from a therapist, we want the environment to be a safe space to say whatever is on our minds and to not be judged. And so when we're coming in contact or in front of a therapist or a counselor, they're not put in a position to be biased. They're not put in a position to give their opinions or their perspectives or their views and stuff. They want to get to a solution
Yeah.
to help that officer of the law, to that agent, to figure out some alternative ways to go about doing things differently when they come in contact with someone, or to change how they are perceived or how they present themselves to the public and to that individual.
I'd say I'd probably just ask them how they think the job is affecting their, like, where are you mentally right now with everything that's going on? You are an ICE officer. Are you happy? Are you upset? Do you agree with the things going? Like, how does it make you feel to be a part of an organization where certain stuff is happening? And how does it affect you, like, on your day to day? Like, does it affect you when you're dealing with people, as far as like dealing when you're working or at home personally because you're having to hold stuff back? Does it make you have, issues when you're not on the clock? So I would probably just ask them lots of questions to try to figure out mentally how the job is affecting them, like in a good or a bad way. Because if you are a little xenophobic and you don't like immigration, then what ICE is doing, and you don't care about violence, then what they're doing could make you happy. So that could be okay for you. I think, everybody is different, but I would definitely just try to see where their state of mind would be, and then just probably go from there. But I would definitely just check how the things that are happening with just their job is affecting them, and not just like what they're dealing with day to day. Just like you're a part of ICE and ICE just murdered somebody. How do you feel about that? Or they're saying that it was unjustified. How do you feel about that? Does it affect,
Mm,
you know how is it affecting you? Because if you work for the organization, it's going to affect you. People are having conversations. The ICE agents are definitely talking about it. Some agree and some don't, just like with the Republicans. So I think Definitely just trying to check the state of mind of the individual. Be my first and foremost.
I think that's a very important question. I think you threw some important questions in there as well. Like, how is the job treating you? How do you feel about the job? Those type of questions, because now you're getting an honest answer, right? And I think agents that are put into a safe space, especially going into therapy, they get to share things with their professional counselor that they would not share with other people,
Yeah.
because other people may not give agents and officers that safe space for them to be totally vulnerable. And
And
I know I have, because I've seen multiple therapists, and there have been things that I shared with these multiple therapists that I did not share with other people at all.
oh yeah, my
Yeah.
therapist knows secrets and look. I be like, look, I'm gonna have to kill you. I'm gonna have to take you out. I mean, we gotta keep this NDA. Cause yeah, I'm super open with mine. I think being able to be open with your therapist and not feel judged is like extremely important. I think that is what can help make a therapist patient relationship the best. Just knowing that I can just get stuff out and I don't have to worry about you looking at me any kind of way the next session or thinking about me any kind of weird way. So
Yeah,
definitely, definitely.
absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to go ahead and switch topics because we've been talking about ICE for a minute now. And if you stay with us right here on Therapy Ain't No Joke, or even on the other shows on our subsidiaries and on our channel, Honey, and all of our subsidiaries, we're going to keep you posted and updated on new information as it comes across our desk. So let's switch gears. And speaking of microaggression, because we still want to stay on the topic of the art of microaggression, part two. Again, this is part two of our three-part series as we take a deeper dive into the microaggression that people have inherited or people are passing on to other people in these very daunting times that we're in right now. And staying on top of news and pop culture, Kanye West, and I don't know if this is breaking news or anything, because we're getting new information here. Uh, let's see. So let's start with this. So it was talked about in the news that Kanye West made an ad on the New York Times, or the New York Times, I should say, released an ad of Kanye West apologizing for the years that he spent talking about different communities, especially the Jewish community, and other things that he has been known to rant about for years, and saying that um, the things that he has said and has done over the years is a result of the car accident that he was in years ago, when people consider him as the old Kanye West. And the injuries that he suffered from the car accident is what made him not think a certain way, and has impaired his thinking to the cause of, or to the reason why he's been saying the things that he said that a lot of people, especially in the Jewish community, find offensive. So I'm going through my information here, and let me see here. And this is according to people.com. And I want to make sure that the information that I'm getting right now here on Therapy Ain't No Joke is coming from reliable sources. And it says here in the headline that Kanye West denies that apology ad over anti-Semitic remarks
Oh,
is about reviving career ahead of album release. So just to kind of dive in a little bit further here into the story, and this is coming from people.com, Kanye West denied that his apology ad in the Wall Street Journal, which I thought was, I'm sorry, I thought it was the New York Times, but it was actually the Wall Street Journal, my bad. Over anti-Semitic remarks is an attempt to do damage control ahead of his album release, which there's talks about a new album coming out. And in an interview with Vanity Fair, which was published on Tuesday, January 27th, the rapper and entrepreneur doubled down and claimed that the Wall Street Journal apology ad is not about, or quote unquote, about reviving his career ahead of the release of his album Bully, but declined to answer some questions, including, quote, where his anti Semitic sentiments may have originated from, end quote. It also goes on to say that in the story, courtesy of Vanity Fair, the star Kanye West, better known as Ye now, claimed that he was, quote, in the top 10 most listened to artists overall in the United States on Spotify in 2025, end quote, and that his upcoming album, Bully, quote, was currently one of the most anticipated pre saves of any album on Spotify, too. So this is a lot to take in. But let me just get to the actual quote here in what was published by the Wall Street Journal. He says, quote, I owe a huge apology once again for everything that I said that hurt the Jewish and black communities in particular, end quote. He goes on to say, quote, all of it went too far. I look at wreckage of my episode and realize that this isn't who I am. He also adds, as a public figure, so many people follow and listen to my every word. It's important that they realize and understand what side of history that I want to stand on, and that is one of love and positivity. Um, we have covered a little bit of Kanye West in the past here on Therapy Ain't No Joke, and so after hearing that, Nikisha Bryant, um, are you at some form, are you convinced that an entertainer of his statue, of Ye statue, are you convinced or still convinced that Ye is dealing with a series of mental health issues?
Yeah, no, I think he's been dealing with them, but I think Kanye had issues before the accident. I feel like just the way his mom used to describe him as a child and certain stuff he did. I watched that documentary they had, and a lot of her videos. Kanye's been a unique child. So I think the accident probably made it worse, and then fame made it worse, and money and drugs made it worse, and then um, I think he has real feelings. I think he is a little anti-black and a little anti-Jewish. He is. He's a little anti-Semitic on both ends. I think he always does an apology type thing before he has a shoe release or an album release. So I can see why people would assume that he's doing that. But I just think we got to be patient with Kanye because he does have mental health issues. He really does. So you kind of have to be patient with somebody that you know has mental health issues. When he's not having manic episodes, he seems to be okay and he disappears for months. But whenever he pops back up, he's always the Kanye that we know. So um, I think we can't necessarily use it as an excuse because he does need to be on his medication and living his life daily correctly so that he doesn't have episodes. But I think we still have to keep into account he really does have mental health problems, and he really did get in a really bad accident that could have made it much worse. So um, I know some of it is genetic because just watching his daughter, I can see why Kim keeps a close eye on him and on her because she has a lot of Kanye in her. And unchecked, it can probably go the same direction. So I think part of his issues are genetic. I will be honest.
Hmm. Mm. And people are probably asking, like, what does Kanye have to do with the topic here, microaggression? Well, simple, because he released a lot of aggression over the years, in recent years, and it's not just only um, his stance or his comments about the Jewish community, but when you say certain things, especially his stint on TMZ back in, I believe it was in 2018, when he said that slavery was a choice,
Yeah.
and people in our community found that to be offensive, and just other things too that got him in a situation where he lost endorsement deals and he lost partnerships and stuff like that. Um, he released a lot of aggression, especially on social media, where everybody is at right now. And so, as we continue to talk about the art of microaggression and what does that look like, it looks like, you may have seen a therapist, you may have talked to one, but you're not putting in the work.
Yeah. And you have to put in the work for it to. That's why I said if he's not um, doing taking his medicine and working out, they give him a regimen. If he's not doing what he's supposed to do, he's gonna have an episode. But I think sometimes people that have mental health issues don't like taking the medicine because they say it fought. Like I have a couple of friends I know that not necessarily for manic disorder like he has, but they take medicine, but they don't take it how it makes them feel. Like they don't feel like themselves. They feel like a part of them is like shut down. So I
Mhm.
think in understanding that he probably doesn't take it because he wants to be creative sometimes, and it's hard to.
Mhm.
From what I hear, it's hard to be creative when you're on those certain mental health drugs. It's hard for you to be able to like be your full creative self. You need to let your brain, be as it is so that you can pull the best out of you. So I think
Right.
you have to understand he is still an artist, but he needs to, for I think his sake, and he has kids, he needs to like keep that stuff in order so that he um doesn't hurt them or himself, and they're gonna turn into teenagers and be doing crazy and dumb stuff, and you don't need him spazzing out because they're just being regular young adults, and that's what I feel like is probably gonna happen. He just he gets very, he gets excited easily when he's not taking care of himself. So
Yeah. People are speculating it's a publicity stunt because of his soon to be new album, which I just mentioned as I was reading the article here. And so I think we have to be careful when we're in a state of not practicing good and healthy mental well being and promoting a new album at the same time. I think we have to be careful with that, and the reason why I say that is because people will look at that and they will follow what you do.
yeah,
And then they will be like, well, if a person like Ye is doing that, is using mental health issues to sell albums and stuff, then I think I'm gonna do the same thing as well too. I just get on social media or speak publicly and say, "Hey, I have mental health issues, or I'm bipolar, or I'm schizophrenic, and I'm gonna talk about this all in my new album, and go get my new album, and this, that, and the third." So I think we gotta, as a mental health advocate, I think we gotta be careful with that.
definitely. I think yeah, we have to be careful with so much when dealing with like the impressionable youth or the social media crowd because people are seeing whatever is making people popular. That's what I want to do because I want to be in the algorithm and I want to be making money. So we definitely have to
Yeah.
be careful. What we're saying is okay so that people aren't repeating bad habits just to try to get famous because it doesn't work for everybody.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And it can be a ploy for people to become famous and to capitalize off of it. And we talked about this before in Therapy Ain't No Joke, about how, and even a colleague of mine pointed this out to me offline, about how using mental health as a way to capitalize and make it trendy. Like, do you really have mental health issues, or you just who you are? Or you just being something that you're not. So that can be very tricky as well too. So that's just a thing that I observe over the years
Yeah.
about how people are using conversations to
Ex-
bring in traffic, and to capitalize off of it.
Yeah, I think mental health and has taken over the algorithm just the same as
Yeah.
entertainment. Like it is trendy, A lot of therapists want to be social media stars as well, so it's a lot of clips, and then
We're not
people
gonna name names, but there are a few well known people.
do. So I just think um, mental health is trendy now, but I don't think people actually do the actual work. That's why people are
Mm,
coming back. I don't think people understand the thing with therapy is that you have to do the work. They can't just tell you, okay, you have this, you're fine now. No, you have this. You
yeah,
have whatever we're telling you that we're saying this is what we're seeing. You have this, but you this is the work you have to do to get out of it. And everybody want to go to a 5 minute clip and be like, "Oh, I read this thread. I know what to do." Like, no, but implement it. When you have to actually implement it in your life, is different and it's hard. That's why anybody who's had to do any work in therapy, you know, it takes time. If you are really trying to work through stuff, you have to be open, and you have to take time to get to know yourself, because a lot of the times it's just you don't even know who you are. You think you know, and then you get in
right.
there like, wait, I don't even know if I like that. I don't know if I like these people. I don't. Maybe this isn't all right. But I think you have to be willing to do the work. And with Kanye, I feel like he wants to take medicine but not do the work. I think
Mm,
this shit. He wants to just be rich. And with rich people, most of the time they can just throw money at stuff. Like, here, pay for this, do this. But that doesn't work with mental health. You actually have to actively be working on like keeping yourself together, especially if you have, you know, manic depressive, whatever. I'm not sure what his diagnosis is, but whatever it is that he has is something that he needs to work on every day. It's like
right.
it's a lifetime journey for him.
And speaking of Ye, I know a few people that know Ye's team, and we're trying to get Ye himself to come on Therapy Ain't No Joke.
Oh,
We
that's
actually
nice.
we actually still have a reserved seat for Ye himself.
Yes, that would be nice. You keep reaching out. He look, you never know. He's gonna maybe one day he'll pop up and he'll want to do it. You gotta when you put it in the air, it's the first step.
Yeah, and we're not. And ladies and gentlemen, let me be clear: we're not doing it to just promote his new album, or if we are fortunate enough to get him on before his album release, or whatever the case may be. But we really want to have a serious conversation with Ye himself, especially all the things that he has went through over the years. And I know deep down in people's hearts, people still love Kanye's music. They are still fans of his music from the early 2000s, even his most recent ones, and even stuff that people weren't feeling.
Yeah,
They still love the fact that Ye helped revolutionize not just only hip hop but the music industry.
yeah.
And and there are people that do want to see Ye get better. So Ye, if you and your team are listening, we still have a reserved seat for you.
Said, come on.
So
Wait.
come on.
Yes, yes.
Come on. All right. So before we get up out of here, I want to talk a little bit about your podcast that I mentioned earlier in the program. And by the way, I am going to be a future guest on your podcast, so I appreciate the invite in advance. Tiny Experiments: Becoming in Real Time, a Thrive Together Technology Production. Talk to our viewers and listeners a little bit more about your podcast.
Well, thank you for that intro. I appreciate it. And thank you for doing the podcast. I'm excited to record in the morning. It is a podcast that came from a book I randomly picked up at the library called Tiny Experiments. It's written by a German author or PhD student, I believe. But in essence, the book is just about, instead of being linear with your goals, and being on the straight trajectory and using SMART goals, she has a path that you do that is similar to SMART goals, but it's different. And then instead of big changes, she encourages you to do tiny experiments. And in your, like, in other aspects of your life. So if it's something that you want to change, instead of just making a big lofty goal, you make your smaller goal and try a tiny experiment to see if it's even a goal you should be heading towards, or if you feel good or you don't feel good you're getting into it. So um the podcast is going to be about individual experiences. It's going to be about what tiny experiments you had in your life. And I have like questions and prompts. I sent you some, but that will help you think. And it's I wanted to make sure that the podcast is good for both me, the audience, and the person that I'm interviewing. So it's gonna be introspective. I'm going to ask a lot of questions, just trying to figure out like what tiny experiments you do in your life that you may not notice. And we'll see where you're going with your other tiny experiments. But it's just a podcast about growth, but in a non-linear way. And just it's mental health obviously related, as it's just being able to bring like your best self out, and not just be stuck or stagnant, and not feel bad when you don't accomplish certain goals. Because what one thing I have gotten from the main book that I read was that sometimes when you have a roadblock, it's a block for a reason. Sometimes you will not do well at something and you will keep doing it. I'm the type of person, I feel like I should be able to do everything. So when I can't do something, I'm like, I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna keep trying until I do it. And you don't always need to do that. Sometimes that is your sign to pivot and go in another direction. And even if it's something similar to what you thought you wanted, it may not be in the package that you wanted. So that's what the podcast is about. I hope to inspire people to, do tiny experiments in their lives and to just put less pressure on themselves when they are working on goals and working on just being a human in life, because there is no destination. We're not in a race. And a lot of people live life like a race. And we have to understand that life is a tiny experiment. Everything you do in life is a tiny experiment. When I got on the podcast with you, the thing is, I had already had a podcast called the Bad and Bougie Podcast, like back in 2019. It was a bad. Me and one of my besties, we used to just drink wine and smoke and just get on talking junk about current events. We were a mess. But I always had the podcast bug from men. And being on your pod, I was like, I still have all my mics. I got all my stuff. I got to get my fiance to get some stuff down. But inspired me to be like, you know what, I need to go back, because I was really happy. And what the point of the book is you do tiny experiments to see like what gives you energy. So like the first week, if you listen to the little snippet that I have up on Spotify and Apple, the first week is pretty much you just writing down what gave you energy today, what drained you, like what made you happy, and you do that for 7 days. So the book is very data driven, so it encourages you to write down the stuff that you're going through and how you're feeling, not just what you're doing or what you're accomplishing. When you accomplish this, how did you feel about it? Where did it bring your spirit, and did you accomplish it and was like, okay, well, that wasn't what I wanted, or that wasn't what I thought it was gonna be. So it's just about introspection and just learning yourself. And like I said, just not being so hard on yourself, and understanding that there are accomplishments and things that you do every day. So I'm excited. Um, I'm gonna release the actual interviews. I'm gonna have 4 podcasts with just me, kind of explaining the premise of the podcast and the book, and then I'm gonna start putting the interviews out after that. So we should have those up by. I'm gonna. My goal is to do weekly, so I plan to release some weekly. So I
The
think
goal is to what? We missed that part. Can you repeat that one more time? Your goal is to what?
to release weekly. So I plan to publish episodes every week.
Oh,
Is the goal on a Monday night. I'm either gonna do Sunday or Monday. I did the first one on a Monday, so I may try to be consistent and stick to that date. But we'll see. Once I get the rest of it recorded and get going. So I'm
nice.
excited, and I can't wait to have you on in the morning. So
All right. Well, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to being one of the first of many guests on your show. I'm definitely looking forward to it, and I'm glad to. And we talked about this offline. I'm glad to have been an example and an inspiration to you doing a podcast, because doing a podcast can be therapeutic as it relates to this show. And when I started this show on terrestrial radio under a different name. And I didn't want to just do the show to make money or to capitalize or to become a big superstar in radio, but I wanted to do a show to help people to look at things differently and to make this a safe space for me as well to where I'm not talking at people, but I'm talking with people.
Yeah.
So as I'm sitting here in the air chair, I'm also sitting on the couch
With you.
with other people that are listening to me as well, and even to our therapists that we have had on the show for the past 2 years during our time over at WAOK here in Atlanta. So I'm very appreciative, and I'm appreciative of people like you for following the footsteps, and I definitely am excited to see how well this show is going to go.
Yeah, I'm excited, and it's connected to my new business I'm starting. Thrive Together Technology is a business I'm starting doing training for AI and technology training for underserved individuals. So I'm going to be working with justice affected seniors and people on the lower economic spectrum, and doing things with cities and getting people trained for this section. So out for both. We'll talk about them, but look out for both. I am excited.
Absolutely. So again, the name of the show, and we're going to have it at the bottom of our screen here. Tiny experiments becoming in real time, in which people can check out the podcast episodes on Apple and Spotify and wherever you get your podcast from, correct?
I'm still working on the other platforms. I submitted, waiting on them to approve, but they'll all. I think by next Monday, everything will be up for all platforms. But we're on Apple and Spotify now. If you'd like to check out the trailer,
Okay. All right. Awesome. Great. And how can people follow you on social media for complete details and updates?
you can follow me on Instagram at Thrive Together Now. That's the only thing I have set up for the business. I will have more by the time over the weekend. I've had a busy week, but I'm getting everything set up.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And they can also type in your first and last name here at the bottom of our screen there to find you on Instagram and other social media platforms.
I am there.
Okay, awesome. Well, again, thank you so much, Nikisha Bryant, for being a guest on Therapy Ain't No Joke once again. And this has been a very important conversation. Let's continue on the awareness. And thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I will see you in the morning. Thank
See
you.
you in the morning,
All right.
early.
All right. Okay.
All
Well,
right,
early.
thank you.
Hey, well, early. Well, not early. It's like brunch time, but we'll be there.
Absolutely. I'm all for it.
All
Appreciate
right.
it. Thank you so much.
No problem. Bye.
Bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Therapy Ain't No Joke with your host, Sean Garvey. And we will be back at our regular time, Wednesday night, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. We only came on later because both me and Nikisha had a lot of stuff going on earlier today. Like we said before, it has been a very busy, hectic day. We had to do 3 breathing exercises. Normally we do 2, but we had to do 3 because of the day that we had. And with that being said, if you had a crazy day and you need somebody to talk to, here are the telephone numbers to contact if you or someone you know needs to speak to somebody right away. If you are facing a mental health crisis, you can contact the National Alliance for Mental Illness, NAMI for short, helpline at 1-800-950-NAMI. That's 1-800-950-6264, or send an email to info@nami.org. Their operational hours are between the hours of 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you are on the East Coast. So make sure you contact them tomorrow if you cannot get in contact with anybody right now. But if you need immediate assistance and you need to speak to somebody right now after tonight's broadcast, you can also dial the Crisis and Suicide Lifeline 988 if you or someone you know is facing a mental health crisis. Once again, the 3-digit number is 988, not 911, 988, and speak to a mental health advocate and a real-time counselor if you or someone you know need to speak to somebody right away. Okay. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of Therapy Ain't No Joke, Wednesday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Mental Space Show or the Mental Space Network. You can type in the Mental Space Network and you will see all of the great archive shows, not just only Therapy Ain't No Joke, but other mental health based shows that we have on the Mental Space Network. We're going to have that information up on the next edition of Therapy Ain't No Joke. And you can also email us, the mental space show at gmail.com. So that's a lot of information I have through you all, but we also have the information at the bottom of your screen there. So while you were watching us in real time live, you should have taken all that information down. But if not, that's why we have the on demand to make sure that you have that information in front of you and written down so you can contact someone or to check out our previous episodes of Therapy Ain't No Joke. And keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that I am not a licensed therapist, nor a counselor or a psychiatrist. I definitely want to recommend that you contact a licensed therapist or counselor in your local area. And again, if you or someone you know is facing mental health crisis, dial 988 immediately. All right. All right. So this has been Sean Garvey, Sean Garvey ATL on Instagram, Sean Garvey on Facebook, and you can find me everywhere on social media. This has been my time. Therapy ain't no joke. Don't make room for bad news. Make every day your own good news and always keep yourself and others in a great mental space. Right here on Therapy Ain't No Joke. See you next week. Take care. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this music is provided by Ray Melody. Make sure you follow her on social media at Ray Melody.
Your Tubies of the world, your Hulu, your Netflix, your Peacock. So what separates Honey from all the other competitors?
That's a great question, Sean. Let's talk about what separates Honey from other streaming apps. First off, Honey offers cutting-edge content with a wide selection of a variety. They're even offering an adult pay-per-view section. But a more important question, what's in it for you? Well, here at Honey, we offer a premium choice to the public. So that means if you're a filmmaker or content creator, we give you the chance to submit your films for free to be featured on Roku itself. How insane is that? Of course, to sustain this and grow our efforts, we need all the support we can get. That's why we're asking you to join our cause in donating to Honey. Now, we know our goal may appear to come off as a bit steep, but the truth is any donation, even in the smallest form, would be greatly appreciated. Please join our cause. Every contribution makes a difference.
Hi everyone, my name is Queen K, and I'm a marketing specialist here at Honey, and I just wanted to take the time today to show you all how you're able to access the Reach One Network application on your Amazon Fire TV. So without further ado, let's get things started. All right, so we're here on the landing page for the Fire TV. We're going to go ahead and use the voice command by searching by saying, Alexa, open Reach One Network.
Here's Reach One Network.
And we're here. So we have the live section, radio section, and video section. So immediately you see Honey. You can definitely tap in over to see what's the buzz there. Consistent 24/7 good stuff, content over there, as well as, like I said, the radio section. Here we have some great things for your listening pleasure. Just in case you want to listen into some things, you may not want to, you might want to see anything. You want to listen. And last but not least, we have the video section, which is a repository of all the wonderful content that has come up and things that will be airing very soon. So I'm very excited to see what you guys think. So take some time, go through each tab, and really just dig into the content here. And make sure you guys are rating us, and we're just happy to see you guys do this content. My name is Queen K, and I'll talk to you guys soon.